Hi guys, welcome back to Once Upon a Tiny Farm. My name's Drew. In today's video, it's going to be a real quick video, but we're going to do our first bed flip of our 400 square foot garden here. And we're going to take out this bed of lettuce, and then we're going to plant carrots. So I'm going to show you how I do these bed flips specifically with cutting out the lettuce, and it's really easy. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to prepare the bed real quick for planting carrots. So stick around. Alright, so for cutting out these head lettuces, really easy way to do this. A lot of people might just want to grab and pull these roots out of the ground, but that's not what we're going to do, because we're trying to build really good soil here in these raised beds. And the way that we're going to do that is by leaving the roots in the soil to decompose. So the way that I like to do that is come in with my knife, and I will cut just beneath the soil surface and cut it like this, and the rest of the root matter is still down here in the soil. So this is essentially going to become worm food. It's going to be food for the worms, and that will eventually decompose and break down in the soil thanks to the worms. And yeah, that's a really good way, easy way to build soil, is just to leave those the root matter in the ground to decompose, and the worms will help you do that. So that's actually one of the main things that I use on my farm is worm castings, which is a fancy word for worm poop. It has really good bacteria in it, and it just encourages, it's really good for the soil. And that's the way that I build my soil, is I use compost and worm castings, and that's basically the only inputs that I use. So that's the way that I would recommend going about building your soil, because in a raised bed it's really important that your soil is good, because the plants are only feeding off of this soil. This is all that they have to feed and grow from. So it's important that you have really good soil, and that's a really good way to build soil. Just leave those roots in the ground and let them decompose naturally. And it's also easier. It's easier on you, the gardener, to do that. Oh man, I didn't do a good job cutting that one. But this is like the root matter that I'm just leaving in the ground to decompose. And this is a really nice head of head lettuce. This is a mini romaine lettuce. These are very crisp, and these grow in only like 46 days. So these are really good kind of compact lettuce heads to grow early in spring. And I don't grow these in the summer because they basically bolt and you don't get a nice head, but in spring you can. So all these are coming out of the ground now, and like I said in the beginning, I'm going to be planting carrots here next, but I'm actually going to be planting a different kind of carrot that I actually never have grown before. It is called the Parisian market carrot, and the Parisian market carrot's kind of unique because it's a small carrot. It's a small, fat, stubby carrot, and the reason I wanted to grow it in this small raised bed system is because our soil is not yet very deep, and these carrots don't grow very deep. They only grow maybe 2 or 3 inches into the soil. So it's a good way to still grow carrots when you don't have a really deep raised bed yet, So that's what we're gonna grow, and I'm excited to grow those carrots because I've never grown them before. Alright, so we took out most of that lettuce. If you could see, I kept a couple of these smaller heads back here because they're still small and they didn't grow all the way. But I'm actually going to use those as a guide for planting my carrots. I think I planted 5 rows down there in my first row, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to do a row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to use these, go basically in between these lettuces that are remaining and mark my rows that way. But before I do that, you can see I got tons of weeds here. So I'm going to use my stirrup hoe and come in and get rid of all these weeds real quick before I plant carrots. So one more thing I'm going to do before I plant is I'm going to get a 5-gallon bucket full of compost, and I'm going to add it on top here to just add more organic material here. Make it look really nice, rake it smooth, and I'm going to plant my rows of carrots. So here are the kind of carrots that I'm planting. I actually thought I had more packets of these. I just can't find them. So the other one that I had is this red cord chantenay. That's a fatter looking carrot, but either way we're gonna plant these guys because this is what I had in my pack, and we need to get this planted. But these are pretty cool how these are just these tiny little balls. This would probably be good for like a stew or a soup kind of dish, so I'm excited about these. This is something that I typically do with a seeder, not by hand, but actually, these aren't going to get me very far at all. These actually came as a pelleted seed. I'm not used to that for carrots, so these are not going to go very far at all. I'm going to have to reach into my stash and grab some more carrots to plant here. I never actually grew pelleted carrot seeds before because I never bought them. These I think I got from Baker Creek as a free seed. And it's actually kind of nice that they're pelleted because then you could space them pretty good by hand. I could see pelleted carrot seed being good for the home gardener, just for this specifically. When it's hot and you're sweaty, those carrot seeds will stick to your finger and it'll be so hard to get proper spacing. But these are actually quite nice. Oh, I just dropped some. It's actually quite nice to have the pelleted seed. You can give them a couple inches of space in between and get really nice healthy carrots to grow here this way. So this is kind of cool. Now I'm going to do this red cord Chardonnay. Never grew this before. So we'll have two different kinds of carrots in here. In my first bed of carrots, I grew they were rainbow colored variety. So they'll be very colorful. They're growing pretty good back there. But the point of this 400 square foot garden is to show that you can grow food the whole season. And I just wanted to show how if you planned out succession planting well enough, you could be growing food all summer long. And that's what I hope to show in this video series. Because that was something that I always struggled with my first few years as a gardener, was planning how to grow more than once. It's one thing to plant things at the beginning of the season, but what happens after those things are done growing? You got to keep planting so you always have something to put in the ground. And it's really important. Oh, this is going to turn out great. I'm going to have just enough seed. These were actually both free seeds. I forget how I got them. Free seeds are fun and free. Alright. Now I'm just going to cover them very, very lightly because you don't want to bury the carrot seeds too deeply. Kind of the same as if you were direct seeding lettuce. The seeds are really small If you bury them too deep, they won't grow. So we just want to cover them very, very lightly with soil, water them really good, and we're gonna be awesome with carrots here. All right, to finish up here, I'm just gonna cover this up using my hands this time. And I'm just gonna cover them really lightly. And then I'm gonna water it all really, really good. And in maybe 2 months time, we'll have another bed full of carrots here. And that's what we want. All right, so there's one more thing that I forgot to do, and that was to also bed flip these first 2 beds we planted, which were turnips and radishes. As you can see, they've both gone to seed. We actually didn't have a lot of success in this row, and I think the reason for that is I got a little greedy with my spacing, and the spacing was too tight, and also I think the soil wasn't right for what we were growing, so I needed to add some amendments to it, which I have, but this was kind of a failure. We planted them late, soil wasn't good, and we planted them too tight. So failure, but we're gonna learn from it, and we're gonna plant, we're gonna give them a little bit more space in the fall when we plant turnips and radishes again. I think we're gonna go to 5 rows instead of the 6 or 7 rows that I tried in here. So all that aside, I need to get this out, so I'm gonna show you how, I mean, there's not a glamorous way to do a bed flip when you have root crops other than get them out of the ground, but we also don't have just root crops. We have these weeds that are really bad. This is called Gallon Saga. I did another video talking about this weed because it's spread all over my farm, and these little seed heads will spread everywhere and cause a lot of problems for years and years to come. So you want to limit those weeds getting to seed. I should have pulled this a while ago. So what we're going to do is I'm going to rip all of this stuff out of the ground. It's going to be some hard, sweaty work, but we got to do it. And then I'm going to show you another way to, since there's lots of weeds in here, I'm going to show another way that I've been using this year, using fire to destroy any other weeds that may decide to grow, any weed seeds that have started to germinate that are small down there. I want to kill all that before I plant anything else in here. And next we're going to be putting lettuce and green beans in the other row. So right now I'm going to get all this stuff out of here, and then I'm going to set fire to all the weeds that remain and kill that off. It's best to do that when it's when the soil's not wet like it is right now, because we just got rain this morning, but it's something that has to be done, and I need to do that, so I'm gonna do it anyway. So anyway, I'm gonna put on time lapse and get this cleaned out as best I can. Okay, so as you can see, the flames on the torch do a really good job of killing any debris that's there. Now if I just left this for another hour or 2, this will be completely dead. It already is pretty dead. And then the next step is to get a rake and rake up this debris. I didn't mention, but I got that back bed. I had spinach there that bolted a long time ago. But I'm not planting anything in that bed for a few more weeks, I believe. So what I'm going to do with that bed is just put a tarp over it to let anything else that decides to germinate weed-wise to die, and I'll keep that bed ready for me when I need to plant in it next. And now I'm going to rake up anything left in the beds here and plant some lettuce and green beans. All right, so as you can see, or maybe can't see, there is still some greenery left in this row, and the garden's never going to be perfect. I don't have time to pick out all of these greeneries, but some of them may still die from the flame, but just haven't done that yet. What I'm going to do is layer up this existing soil with a 5-gallon bucket of more compost, and I'm just going to put this on top and then rake it in. I added 1 bucket was enough for this first bed. I'm going to get another bucket for that second bed, and then I'm going to rake it in, and we'll be good to go. All right. So this lettuce variety that I'm about to plant, I've never grown before. It's called Jericho, and it's a very heat tolerant lettuce. So we're about to get some really, really hot temperatures now going into July, and I want to make sure that I still have fresh lettuce for market and for our family. So I'm trying this lettuce out. It's already off to a really, really, really good start. It's really nice looking, healthy lettuce. I'm going to get this stuff in the ground that I meant to plant a while ago, but that's why it's a good thing to have these this crop plan that I've mentioned for my 400 square foot garden here. It gives you a roadmap, because this is a time of year where everything is growing really, really fast, and if you have a crop plan of what's supposed to go in the bed next, it leaves any guessing out of it. You just know what you're going to be putting in the ground next. And even though this isn't working out perfectly, like I said, this was supposed to go in the ground 2 weeks ago, it's still okay, because sometimes things take longer to mature, the previous crop, and sometimes, like in this case, I was just too busy and kind of neglected this bed. But it's okay, because we're dealing with it now, and they don't look too root bound, these plants. So I'm going to space them about 8 inches apart. So I'm going to put 4 of them here in a row and fill up this first part of the bed with the lettuce and get that going. All right, so we got that bed of Jericho head lettuce planted, and now I'm going to plant this bed with green beans. These are actually a yellow wax bush bean called Gold Rush. So I'm going to have some cool colored golden green beans in this row. And this time I'm experimenting with my spacing. I'm just doing 2 rows, which might seems to me like it might become a little waste, but it might be easier to pick them because they're going to be about 6 inches in from each side. So when we're picking, will just be a lot easier. And I'm not sure about the middle here. I might want to experiment with some other things, but right now I'm not going to plant anything there. I'm just going to plant 2 rows of bush beans. So here we go. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this video. I appreciate all of you watching. If you stuck around to the end, thank you very much. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you're new here. I'd really appreciate that as well. Also, if you're interested in my 400 square foot garden plan, sign up in the details below this video for our newsletter and you'll get that sent to you for free. Alright, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.